A Manhattan jury has found Daniel Penny not guilty of criminally negligent homicide in the death of Jordan Neely, which happened on a New York City subway last year. This verdict came down Monday, and it has definitely been one of the most talked about cases in recent months. Now, Penny had originally faced a second-degree manslaughter charge as well, but just days before the verdict, Judge Maxwell Wiley dismissed that charge at the request of prosecutors. They said jurors had been deadlocked on that count, meaning they couldn't come to an agreement, so the judge dismissed it. For some background, Penny, a former Marine, could have been facing up to 4 years in prison if convicted of criminally negligent homicide. But had the manslaughter charge stuck, he could have been looking at up to 15 years behind bars. When the not guilty verdict was read in the courtroom, there was actual applause. Penny looked at the jury that acquitted him, nodded in thanks, and even smiled. But the atmosphere wasn't entirely calm. Jordan Neely's father, who was in the courtroom, had an outburst and had to be escorted out after shouting some expletives. Now, let's break down what actually happened. The case centers around the tragic death of 30-year-old Jordan Neely, a street artist who had been struggling with homelessness, mental illness, and drug addiction. On May 1st, 2023, Neely got onto a subway car and started acting erratically. Witnesses said he threw down his jacket and yelled that he was hungry, thirsty, and didn't care if he died. Penny, who was a passenger on the train, then stepped in. He put Neely in a chokehold from behind, forced him to the floor, and held him there for several minutes. After Penny let go, Neely was unresponsive and later declared dead. The entire incident was captured on a bystander's phone camera and became one of the most watched videos of the trial. This case sparked huge debate across the city and even nationwide. Some people felt Penny was trying to protect the other passengers, while others believed his actions went too far, raising questions about the line between self-defense and vigilantism. There were protests, including outside the courthouse, with groups like Black Lives Matter adding Neely's name to their list of victims. On the other hand, there were also many people who praised Penny for trying to stop a dangerous situation. Prosecutors argued that Penny used way too much force and acted recklessly. We are here today because the defendant used way too much force for way too long in way too reckless of a manner, said prosecutor Daphne Yoran during closing arguments. But Penny's defense team claimed he was just trying to protect the other passengers from what he saw as a serious threat. "I wasn't trying to injure him," Penny said in an interview with NYPD investigators shortly after the incident. "I'm just trying to keep him from hurting anybody else. He was threatening." They also challenged the medical examiner's ruling, which said Neely died from the chokehold. The defense suggested that the charges were based more on public outcry than on medical facts. So, after all the drama, after all the emotions and the protests, the jury came back with the not guilty verdict. And while this case is officially over, the debate over mental health, subway safety, and the line between protection and overreach is still very much alive.